This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. We're back in Newcastle with me, promoter Eddie Hearn. Eddie, before we get down to boxing, how are you? It's been a while.
I'm good, mate. Good to be up around your neck of the woods, ready to go. 1,000 fans back. Obviously not the 10,000 we'd expect in Newcastle, but buzzing for a fight, and a big fight for Ritson. Great fight as well.
Let's talk about that then. Ritson Ponce, IBF final eliminator. We've seen a lot of South and Central American fighters come over and sort of turn people over in the last few months. How important is it that Lewis has switched on in the early round Saturday night?
Really switched on important because Ritson is in with a good puncher, a young fighter, very confident. The truth is, we don't know whether Ponce has the ability to be, at that sort of deep elite world level. We know he's an exciting young fighter. Lewis coming off, poor performance against Vasquez. Many people felt that he lost that fight. I think he probably did watch him back as well. Got lucky, and he's got to make the most of it. I think he looks great. I think he looks in great shape. And I think you're going to see a good performance in a very explosive fight.
As I mentioned, this is a final eliminator. We've seen Josh Taylor claim all the belt at 140. Is this as much about being in position for a potential vacant belt as it is for looking at Josh Taylor, with Ritson Taylor maybe a bit unlikely?
Yeah, I think you've always got to chase those big fights, haven't you? I mean, he's quite sort of humble in himself to sort of say, this is Josh Taylor is a huge step up, but so it should be to fight for the Undisputed Championship. So either way, however way it comes, I'm sure he'll accept the challenge, but all comes down to Saturday night and must win.
Just to go back quickly to Lewis, we saw him in with Miguel Vasquez, quite flat, struggled a lot. A lot of people were furious with the scorecards, you as well, with the 117, 111. A lot of that criticism fell on him as well, which was perhaps a bit unfair, but do you think he'll have that bit extra lift he needs with the fans actually being back? And I'm sure it sounded a lot more like more than 1,000 on Saturday night as well. Really
unfair, the criticism, because it wasn't his fault. It was a bad performance against probably a style that's not overly suited to him. But at the same time, he should have lost the fight. I think anyone that says differently is trying to blow smoke up Lewis Ritson. He doesn't want people to blow smoke up. He needs people to be honest in his career. He knows it was a flat performance. He knows he's much better than that. He's a world-class fighter, and he's got to go and prove it on Saturday. So we've seen in the behind closed doors environment, people like Lewis Ritson, people like Josh Warrington really struggle because it's so different to what they're used to. This time there'll be more noise, and this is the biggest moment of his career so far.
Just a couple of things on the undercard before we move on to other things. Firstly, Alan Babbage. I'm just speaking to Damien Chambers and Matthew Hatton outside. They really fancy this fight. It could be a cracker on Saturday.
It's a great fight. And two guys that are really cruiserweights, to be honest with you, coming up and there's much smaller heavyweights. Damien Chambers had a fight plan but took this fight at late notice. And really, it's a situation where he believes he can just go out there. He's only lost once, and that was in the Boxer series, a short format. Alan Babbage coming off an injury. How good is Alan Babbage? We don't really know. People keep saying they can beat him, but then he goes in there and demolishes everyone. But I think Babbage against Chambers is going to be a really good fight.
On the rest of the card, let's talk about the Northeast fighters. We've got the journey beginning for Cyrus Pattinson, really exciting amateur coming through. We've got Tommy Ward, we've got April Hunter, Joe Laws as well. We've still got the McCormacks in the amateurs. Are we looking at what could be a golden time for Northeast boxing?
Yeah, for sure. The McCormacks look fantastic, don't they? And so is Cyrus Pattinson. Really exciting to see him turn pro at the weekend. April Hunter, doing great things for women's boxing. Of course, Savannah Marshall, who's not on this card, but, one of the best pound-for-pound women fighters in the world right now. Joe Laws coming back into action. Big fight for Tommy Ward. He's really looking at fighting for that world title now. And away from that as well, Solomon Daker's a great GB talent as well. So looking forward to the card and plenty of action for Northeast fighters and big futures for them as well.
This is, of course, the end of an era. This is your last show with Sky after you announced that groundbreaking deal with DAZN last week. What's the reaction been like, and how excited are you to lay out those plans on Monday as well?
It's been really exciting. I mean, fresh. We've had a great time with Sky. It's going to be a sad moment on Saturday, really. We've got very good friends in the production team, in the talent team, and it's been a great journey. They've been tremendous for us. We've been great for them, but, all good things come to an end. This is something very fresh, very different. It's game-changing. Laying out a lot of those plans on Monday. Obviously, the talent being announced next week as well. We get to shape everything we want, and, we have the budget to give our fighters what they want, what they need globally, and create a tremendous product for the viewer as well.
Let's get through a few other things, Eddie. Joshua-USYK, Alex Krassyuk was out this morning saying that he thinks a deal could be done as soon as this week. An announcement could be within a week. Do you echo that? Are we expecting September in London?
Yeah, I mean, they've through the WBO, we've both alerted them to say, look, we're happy with that terms have been agreed. We do need to contract that, but at the same time, we're in a good position, got a good relationship with them. London at the end of September is the plan. And I think this weekend or early next, we'll have that deal concluded.
Is it absolutely the Spurs Stadium, or could it be at Wembley?
No, it can be at Wembley. Yeah, the Spurs Stadium's just one stadium that we're looking at as well. It's a tremendous fight. It's a big test and a challenge for AJ, but ready to take that and ready to make the fight and hopefully announce soon.
There was a few murmurs going around that Dillian Whyte was still in the picture for this fight. It now seems very unlikely. Where does this leave Dillian with Joshua-Usyk seemingly going ahead?
Well, I think he is in the mix if that fight doesn't happen, but it is looking like it will happen. Met with Dillian's team. He's looking to fight end of August, September as well. I'd like him to fight in America. We're looking at a few different options, but ideally, while he's just sort of biding his time during this period, if you like, I'd like to see him fight twice this year.
Now, just to move on to a couple of other things. Mayweather-Paul, we saw Leonard Elderby have a little response to yourself on Twitter over the last few hours. You made it quite clear what you thought of the fight beforehand. What did you make of the event, though?
I thought it was terrible. I don't mind Jake Paul against Ben Askren, Jake Paul against Tyrone Woodley, but not one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of all time against a 0-1 YouTuber. But it was what it was. They made a load of money. Congratulations to everybody. I just think we've got to work harder to make sure that thing doesn't become more common in boxing. And the only way we do that is by showing people great boxing. The promoters work harder, the managers, the trainers, the fighters take bigger risks, and we can make the product good enough to avoid exhibitions like that. I saw what Leonard said. I'm entitled to my opinion. I thought Floyd Mayweather looked terrible, to be honest with you. Like, he's one of the greatest fighters ever. If you're a new age fan or you're a younger fan, you think, was this guy really one of the greatest of all time? But his legacy is already built. I don't like the way that he sort of goads the fans and tells them he robbed them of money, but he did. Congratulations, and Money Mayweather continues. I doubt he'll be doing that again.
Are you only willing to venture back into that world, that YouTuber world, if it's two YouTubers fighting each other?
I don't really want to venture back in that world, but I'm not naive enough to say, I'd never do that again. Our event was a big success, but it was two guys that can't really fight in a 50-50 fight with each other. And it was quite entertaining, but not that version. And like I said, I have no problem with the Jake Paul stuff. In the right fights, competitive fights, no problem.
Billy Joe Saunders was on TalkSport earlier today. He said it's 50-50 whether he'll box on. Have you spoken to him, and do you expect him to fight again?
Yeah, I spoke to him this morning. I'm going to plan to see him next week. I'd love to see him fight again, but obviously it comes down to him physically, how he feels inside, what he wants to achieve. But he's proved that he's an elite, world-class fighter, and we'll have a chat and see where he wants to go.
Canelo Plant, Andy Purwell, shout out Andy Purwell, caught up with Caleb Plant last week. He said he was very confident this fight's going to get made. Where are we at with that? I'm assuming both sides are sort of preparing their offers. Yeah,
I spoke to Canelo this week. He's just back from honeymoon. He's playing golf at the moment. We're going to get an offer over to Plant's team next week. I'm sure they'll get an offer over as well. We'll all sit down, the two teams, and decide where the best place for the fight is. But, I've got clear instructions. That's the fight that Canelo Alvarez wants next, and I'm sure Caleb Plant's made it clear he wants the same fight, so fingers crossed we see that in September.
And one last thing to touch on before I let you go, Eddie. Kirkland Lang passed away, obviously, yesterday. Just your words and your sentiments after his passing.
Yeah, really sad. I actually watched a YouTube piece last night with him and Ponce. It's sad what happened to his life. Tremendous talent, real natural talent. I think I met him a couple of times, but people who knew him say what a great character was, and always a happy soul. So may he rest in peace. Great British boxing legend passes away. So very sad. And God bless.
Eddie Hearn, thank you very much.